Hey everyone, just want to check in with you. It's so pretty. I hope you guys can see me. It's so pretty outside. I have to sit outside today. It's finally warm enough. It's Southern California. We've had like crazy rain and it's been freezing, and today it's beautiful. So had to come outside in my backyard. At least I know this is one place I'm not going to run into a lot of people, right? Hello, I've got all these people joining, so would love to hear where you guys are from. But I wanted to check in with you guys because for me, today marks 5 weeks for me and my family that we have been inside. We've been quarantined. And I started doing it a little bit before the state of California decided to do it because I'm just one of those people. So we got the kids, I had them actually stay home from school a couple days early before the schools let out, and I was just getting a little bit nervous. So wanted to check in, see how you guys are doing, and find out where you're at in this whole process. How many of you have tried to give yourself a haircut at this point? Something I would say, don't try at home, except now there's no other way to do it, right? So I actually have tried to give myself a haircut, not the most even, but what are you gonna do? So we're working on it. Let's see, I'm going to just post right here. This live chat is going to be about finding your passion. Let's see. Finding your passion. Because I will tell you why. I had a very sad comment that I found on my page. And so I wanted to address this with people because I think it's really hard for people. It seems like I keep pausing. Can you guys see me okay, or am I cutting out? So I want to make sure that I'm not cutting out and you guys can see me. Anyways, when people have passion and purpose in their life, it's actually finding your purpose and your passion. I think they're connected. But when people have purpose, they live 11 years longer. So that's what studies show. You live longer when you are purposeful and you are passionate about something. So, and so I wanted to just touch base with that because we're starting to hear a lot of really sad things. Calls to suicide hotlines are up 800%. 800% for calls to suicide hotlines. And yet, at the same time, our people are reporting that some of them are reporting they've never been happier. So they actually really like the quarantine. It was like hitting a pause button, gave them a chance to relax, reflect, be with family. And for us, that's what we have found, right? So we are worried because we've got employees we want to take care of. We've got, things like that we're concerned about, but we've also enjoyed this time with family and a chance to connect. But I have to tell you, I haven't always been that person. And so when I read this comment on my page, it made me really sad. Someone said, what if you don't have a purpose? And that made me sad, which is why people are calling suicide hotlines, because they feel like they've got no purpose. Many people have lost their jobs. They don't have families that they can be around. And so when I read that, it made me sad because it reminded me of a not very good time in my life. A time in my 20s when I wanted to die. So I had hit rock bottom. I had lost everything, filed for bankruptcy, felt suicidal, but I would never kill myself. So I just kept praying that God would let a truck hit me, run me over. And then I thought, well, if there is a God, he doesn't love me. And so I just quit. I quit thinking that God was going to bail me out. And that was when I really lost hope. I lost hope at that point. And so I wanted to just touch on this because I know how dark that place can be. And it's a really scary place. So I have an exercise for you on finding your purpose or finding your essence. And it's connected to your passion. What are you passionate about, right? So Daniel and I wrote a book together, The Brain Warrior's Way. And in that book, we use a framework called mastery. The M is for mindset, A is for assessment, assessing your situation, S is for sustenance, T is for training, and E is for essence. And that is where we help you to give you an exercise to help you find your purpose. And honestly, even if you're in a dark place right now, this is going to be the one time that in my lifetime, this has never happened. This is going to be the one time that we actually can stop, pause, and take the time to dig and do the work to figure out what it is that we are passionate about, what it is that what is our purpose? Why are we here? Why is the world a better place? Because you breathe, right? So rather than saying, well, what is the world doing for me? How about what are you doing to make the world a better place? And that's sort of what we try to instill on our daughter Chloe and my 2 nieces who live with us. So I'm going to tell you a story about my friend Rabbi G. He's an amazing human. And when he was 2, when his daughter was 2, his baby girl was 2, she died a terrible death in his arms. She died from leukemia. And he had seen her go through all these treatments, and her skin was just, would peel off at times. And she was in so much pain. She would just cry and scream all night. And she ended up dying in his arms. And before she died, she actually was able to look at him, and she said something so sweet to him. She called him Abba. And she looked at him and she said something so sweet and so comforting about him letting her go. And it was really interesting. And Rabbi G, as you can imagine, his world fell apart. But he's also got training and he has dedicated his life to purpose for helping other people. And so after he got through his grieving process, which I don't know if you ever get through the grieving process for your child dying, but he decided to turn his pain into purpose. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is turning your pain into purpose. So Rabbi G started a foundation called Kids Kicking Cancer. So the very thing that took his daughter, he now started going out, and he's now created this network of people who go all over the world helping kids with terminal illness, not just cancer, mostly cancer, but terminal illness, and he helps empower them. He's also a black belt. That's why it's Kids Kicking Cancer. So I met him. We're both martial artists, and he started teaching these kids breathing techniques and martial artists, like techniques that we use in martial arts that make you feel very empowering. How to ki, how to visualize, how to breathe in the light and breathe out the pain. And he started noticing that some of these kids were actually not only getting through their treatments without as much pain, but they were doing it without pain medicine sometimes. And they're just kids. And so there's a lot of power in this. But the point that I want to make with Rabbi G is that it was his pain that led him to his purpose. Okay, so if I could tell you one thing in the steps to doing this, it's that if you could, as the first step, take the time during this time to journal. Journal when you've been hurt. Journal where's your pain point? When in your life, what injustices have been done to you? What are you traumatized from? What are you sad about? Where does it hurt? And just really dig in and journal about it. Because so many people are in so much pain because they never take the time to sort of acknowledge that and heal from that. So if you could journal that and figure out where does it hurt and why? Why is that such a terrible place for you to go? And think about what you're truly passionate about. So the things in your life that you're passionate about now, and if you're really depressed, you may not feel a lot of passion. I know I've been depressed. I remember thinking there's nothing, like I'm just wasting oxygen. And that's okay. But what are the things you have been passionate about? And I bet you someone could touch on that, could trigger you, right? For me, it's injustices towards kids. You could get me going in a heartbeat. And I'm not very nice. When I start thinking about those things, I'm not a nice person. But that's a passion for me, right? So empowering young girls became a passion for me. That's why I love martial arts. I love martial arts training for young girls. That's something that I find very uplifting. So think about that. What are your passions? What have they been? And what are you, like, where are you hurting? And see if there's a connection. So I'd ask you to stop and think about whether there's a connection. And also within that same vein, what are you willing to suffer for? So if you can't really stop and think about the exact thing that, where the pain point is, what are you willing to suffer for? Like, what would you be willing to, like, I know the minute I had a daughter, the minute I had a baby, I knew that minute that I would be willing to jump in front of a bus, kill or die. Like if someone tried to hurt her, right? So what would you be willing to suffer for? And we can't change the situation we're in right now. We know that. Nobody can change it, right? So we can't change the situation we're in. But one thing I love, our friend Byron Katie taught me many years ago, and it helped me so much. Argue with reality, welcome to hell. So argue with reality, welcome to hell. So I love that because it's just so simple. If you argue with what is, you're torturing yourself. You cannot argue with the circumstance that's in front of you. And I saw that every day in the hospital, right? It's just such painful things. But what I saw also when I was seeing people who were dealing with the worst circumstances on a trauma unit you can imagine, I saw the differences in the way families handled it. There were families that came in, they'd pray for the nurses, they'd bring us food, they would do these things. And then there were other people who just, they had to be mad at somebody. And we understood that. We didn't get upset about it. But my point is, you can't change what's happening. You can only affect how you are handling it. So that's one of the things I just want to remind you about as you go through this and as your days are really awful and you feel like you're in hell. Are you trying to fight against reality? Because when you try to fight against reality, it's bound to make you miserable. So thinking about, like, what are your thoughts on your passions and on your pain, and just make the connection there. And then meditate daily. You know, this is the one time we have pray, meditate, really think about your intention. Okay, so some of you feel like, I already know because I've gotten these comments, that you don't feel like you have any right now because your purpose has been taken from you. I remember the day that I found out that I had cancer. I was 23, and I remember the doctor telling me, well, you have, as far as cancer goes, you have a fairly safe cancer. It had metastasized, but all I heard him say was, it's safer than most cancers because it's slow growing. And so the metastasized part, I just didn't register. I didn't know what he meant. And all I heard him say was, you're lucky. It's slow growing. I went, oh, okay, I'm going to leave then. I'm busy right now. I'll be back in a few months when I'm done. I've got these things I have to take care of because I had the world by the tail. I was 23. And when he went, no, you're not hearing me. I'm trying to make you feel better, that it's probably not going to kill you, but you need to take care of it now. And I couldn't take it in because it meant that I was going to drop out of school, quit my job, all the things that were important to me at that age. I had built my house on a foundation of sand, if you will. And so when that got ripped out from under me, I just completely fell apart. And so when he said that, he's like, no, you need to stop. You need to drop out of school. You're going to have to quit working. We're going to have to take care of this. It's metastasized. I lost it. And so I felt like I had no purpose. And so I understand when people say that. I understand what they're going for. Someone said, I've been using your forgiveness meditation daily. Oh, thank you. So on YouTube, I have a bunch of meditations, guided meditations that I posted for people who haven't been used to meditating. And one of them is on forgiveness. So if you're in that place where you just can't sort of wrap your brain around the purpose of all of this or why this is happening, join the club. A lot of people can't figure it out. And maybe it's just above our pay grade. Right? I mean, that's my thought, is maybe it's above my pay grade why it's happening, but I can handle how I'm reacting to it. And so for me, prayer and meditation are critical. They're something I have to do because my mind can get really a little wonky and I find myself wanting to control and micromanage everything. So I have to be really careful. The ICU nurse in me comes out really quickly. Yeah. And when you take the time to pray or meditate, you'll also start to discover what you're most passionate about. But where your attention goes, your energy flows. So that's why when you're praying, when you're meditating, where your attention goes, your energy flows. And it can be very grounding. So when you're not feeling grounded, it can be very grounding. That's one of the reasons we want you to do that. And I already said, ask yourself why the world's a better place. But another question, why is the world a better place? Because you're in it. What are you doing to make it a better place? Because people who do for others and are in service are happier than people who are just expecting things to be done for them. It's just a fact. But the other thing is, the other question that we use in our house a lot, especially right now, because we're stepping on each other's toes, we're all in the same house, we can't get away from each other, right? Like a lot of you are experiencing, is does it have eternal value? So it's really easy to get upset with each other over really silly, dumb things. And I certainly have done it. It's been 5 weeks. And I had 1 week where I just kind of was done, right? Everybody was sort of in my space and I was just done. They were in my space, in my face, and I was over it. And I mostly held it in, but I got it starts to leak. When you're trying super hard to hold something in, it begins to leak, right? Because what you resist persists. And so it starts to leak. And even though I wasn't outwardly yelling at people or whatever, I got a little snappy and it was leaking. And then I taught my nieces this one thing. The best thing you can do, number one, is teach your kids, the way you teach them to apologize is by apologizing. So apologize first. And then I taught them this. Does it have eternal value? The way I put myself in check is I ask myself the question, does it have eternal value? If it doesn't have eternal value, why does it matter? If you're not going to remember it 5 months from now, 5 years from now, whatever, why are you going to get upset and hurt the people closest to you? It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So that's how I put myself in check when I'm doing that. And we teach our kids that same thing. So if they make mistakes or they get mad at someone in the family, it's like, does this have eternal value? If not, let it go. And I'm not saying it's that easy. It takes practice, but just like anything, like when you work out in the gym, it becomes easier as you do it. The muscle gets stronger, right? So that's just a really important thing. And then find someone who you respect and ask them to mentor you. So that's what I've done. I have a lot of cool mentors, and I also surround myself with people who do these types of things. And I was just talking today to a friend of ours, Pastor Derwin Gray. He's the pastor of one of the largest interracial churches in North Carolina. Amazing human. He used to be an NFL player, and he's fantastic. And he was talking about something very similar to what I write about in my new book. I have a new book coming out, being published by Thomas Nelson, and it's called The Relentless Courage of a Scared Child. And his story has a lot of parallels to mine growing up, right? So he talks about how he grew up in the hood. I'm not sure I grew up in the same type of hood, but it was a scary place. And so one thing that we both experienced, and it's just such an interesting thing, is that when I finally hit rock bottom, when I felt like I wanted to die, when I prayed that God would just let a truck hit me, because what was the purpose of my life? What I couldn't have known, there was no way for me to understand at the time, was that was a requirement. Going through what I went through was a requirement for me to be here with you today. I didn't know that then, but I needed that experience. It's not that I think God created it, but I think he used it. I think he allowed it to happen, because there's no way that how would I have ever known that would be my platform? That would be my purpose. That would be my passion. I've written 10 books now, and the newest one is a memoir, which I never thought I would do. I never thought I would tell my story, because why would I want to go back to all of that ickiness? But the point is that now it's not about me. It's about, if this helps one person, then it's worth exposing myself, right? It's worth being vulnerable. So that's why I want you to stop for a minute and think, this time that is so awful in my life, is it possible? Just plant that seed. Is it possible that this is going to be the thing that is going to make me connect with others? Will I be able to use this somehow to connect with? Maybe this is the thing that is going to be my passion, that's going to become my purpose, that I can turn my pain into purpose to help other people. How can I shift this so that my pain isn't wasted, so that it becomes purposeful for other people? And Pastor Gray said the same thing. He just had been through so much, and now he's a pastor. He said, if anyone would have told me I was a pastor, I told him, they were like, what are you on? There's no way he would have ever seen himself being a pastor. He said the first wedding he ever went to was his own, out of his entire family. And so that was just so interesting. And here we are. So take your pain, take this moment. And I know it's hard when you're in pain, but is it possible? Just ask yourself that question. Is it possible that the pain I'm going through isn't wasted? That there is a reason for it? That I'm going to be able to use this to help other people? That someone out there needs to hear my story, or that I need the insight. Maybe I'm not sharing my story, but I needed that insight. I needed to gain that empathy in order to be able to do what God's calling me to do, what my mission is. And so just want to throw that out there. But seeing some of your comments make me sad about people not being able to handle being in the house with their kids all day. Some of you love it. Some of you really can't handle it. And I get it. Some of you have special needs kids that are hard. And so it's a very challenging time. But I'm starting to read about people's behaviors that are pretty self-destructive. And it's sad. So if you can find one person that you respect that can help pull you out of this and maybe guide you a little bit. In AA, they have sponsors, right? So maybe you find a sponsor. Maybe it's not for a chemical dependency, or maybe it is. But you find someone that you can just jump on the phone with for 10 minutes a day and help them pull you out of that, and start journaling all of this and figure out, how is it that I can share this? How can I turn my pain into purpose for someone else, and make the focus a little less on you and your pain. Pain shared is pain divided. So I don't know if this is helpful to you, but I'm hoping that you get something out of it. And because it makes me sad when I read those. Usually I get, a lot of questions on nutrition and on lifestyle and on meditating. And every now and then I get some comments and responses that are just, they're tragic. And so that was really sad for me. And by the way, once you get it, remember, this is not about you. The R in mastery is responsibility, the ability to respond. So it's it's about not being a victim, but also responsibility is about passing it on. So healing isn't just about you, it's about generations of you. So that's one of the reasons that my nieces are here with us, right? Because it's easy to say, not my problem. Believe me, I did that with my family for a long time. I finally got away from the craziness and I was like, this isn't my problem. Not my monkey, not my circus. So you guys can all handle your own stuff. And I blocked everybody out. But at some point, if not you, then who? There's a great saying that I love, a great quote. I am not my sister's keeper. I am my sister. And so, we are more alike than we want to admit. Our similarities are stronger than our differences. And I would venture to bet that's true with almost everything that whether it's political or, just whatever differences you have with people. Our humanity is stronger than all of that. It connects us. So I would just challenge you. So when you get this down and you finally do feel like you're strong enough, take the time to mentor someone, whether it's right now, it has to be by social media, or phone, but take the time to do that. So someone is saying they got a massive trigger, 13, or high dependency with infections, got flashbacks. Oh, this session is helpful. I'm so glad the session is helpful. So the other thing is leave questions and comments. And so if you leave questions and comments, I will do my best. I'm going to start trying to just read them and answer them the best I can. But find your purpose and remember, the question, why is the world a better place because you breathe? And I know that it is. So take care, stay safe, stay isolated for now, and just do the best you can and challenge your thoughts every day. Take care. Bye-bye.